Brought to you from Melbourne, Australia, this is the Badminton Podcast, a community for badminton players by badminton players, where we talk badminton, celebrate local heroes, interview players from all walks of life, and push you to grow as a player and a person. Introducing your hosts, Jeff and Henry.
Hey everyone out there in our badminton community. Welcome to another episode of the Badminton Podcast, which is a Volant initiative. We're the co-hosts and I'm Jeff and this is Henry with me. We're here because we love badminton. We love talking about badminton and our mission is to simplify the badminton journey so that we can show the world how incredible badminton is. So what you can do is you can check us out on www.volantwear.com just for our badminton basics. And there's lots of great tools and information on the website as well. Now, we're really excited to bring another episode to you with our goal of releasing 100 episodes. But before we get started, we just want to say thank you so much to all the listeners out there who have made this podcast possible, because without you listening, we definitely wouldn't still be producing our podcast episodes. And for all of those who have pledged a little bit of money that have really supported us on our journey through Patreon, we really do appreciate it. And if you do enjoy the podcast, we'd love your support. All you have to do is visit patreon.com/thebadmintonpodcast to play a part, and the link will be in the description below. So this episode is a really exciting episode for us because guess what? Badminton is back. So after a long time away from tournaments, away from badminton because of the coronavirus, we are really excited to be recording this episode 1 week after the Denmark Open in 2020. And we're really excited because we wanted to talk about how excited and happy we are to see badminton back on. But we've actually got a guest here who was at the Denmark Open himself, and he can share his experiences about how it all was and how happy he is to be competing again. Our guest for today, he's from Sweden, men's singles player. His name is Felix Burestedt. I think I pronounced that okay. Is that okay, Felix?
Very good, yeah, very good.
Yep, perfect. So Felix, welcome onto the podcast.
Thank you very much, Jeff. Thank you.
Fantastic. So I was so happy when the Denmark Open was kept. I know the Thomas Uber Cup was postponed yet again because a lot of teams like Australia, like Indonesia, did pull out. That forced the BWF to postpone it. But how did you feel when you found out that the Denmark Open was still running?
Yeah, I was obviously very happy and glad that it was possible to have the tournament being held. I was also a little bit worried since there was supposed to be the Thomas Cup and Denmark Open 1 and 2. So you never really knew what's going to happen. But I think it was a really good start of the circuit being back. It also shows a bit to other countries and organizers that it's possible.
Yeah, and it can work, right?
Yeah.
So I guess from my perspective and a lot of players around the world who haven't been able to compete, because I'm helping the Australian players at the moment prepare for the tournaments in the Olympics, it's been really tricky to train and not have a defined goal. So of course the goal is Olympics. The goal is to perform well in tournaments, but it's so hard to plan for the future when you don't know when the next tournament is. So your training blocks, how hard you should be training, when you should be changing your program, when you should be changing the gym program, etc., to make yourself perform better. How have you coped with that uncertainty of not knowing when the next one is?
I think it's a little bit like you're saying, it's been a little bit tough. We haven't really had this goal or even been able to know what period do we have to perform, what period do we have to be ready. But I thought in the beginning that I just tried to see it as a possibility for me to grow as a player and to improve. I had a lot of time to improve on physics and on all of other aspects of the game. So I just tried to focus on that. But I could really feel that the last couple of months and weeks that now I'm really, really looking forward to get back to playing. But I think it just had to have good communication with your coach, your physical coach, to see what the best is that you can bring out of this situation. And then obviously it was, close to impossible to know when to play and all this. So just had to do your best, I guess.
Yeah. And from being away from so long from badminton, Felix, can you give us a bit of an idea of what it was like to actually really get back to it, what the atmosphere was like at the stadium? And we know that you played Jan Jorgensen in your first round at his last ever international tournaments. Can you just give us a bit of a rundown about all the emotions, all the feelings that were happening and just everything? Because it'd be really great for myself, Jeff, and the rest of the badminton community just to get an idea of what badminton is like in the new normal.
Yeah, but I think obviously for me playing Jana, it brought the level up of the atmosphere a little bit because there were more people coming to watch him, I think. So that was also more special and nice for me. There were more people during his matches and cheered for him. So there was a little bit more crowd and people around. Otherwise, I think it was a little bit special for sure. There were the rules, what parts of the arena could the players walk in and what parts were only for the audience. We were not allowed to mix those zones up. We had to all the players go in I think it was called the green zone. So we only had special places we could be around. And also the audience, I mean, it wasn't as much as it usually is, but I think you could feel from talking to the other players around the tournament, officials, everyone seemed to be extremely happy to be back playing. And of course, it was a little bit special. I mean, it was the first international tournament for all of us, I guess, in almost 6-7 months. So it was a little bit special. And luckily, I played a few league matches before, but you could feel that you were a little bit tense or you wanted to do well and you had a long period of training. So you had some expectations perhaps, but you also had to accept that it's a long time ago since you felt all these emotions, which is also great in a way. You haven't really had anything for a long time to be a little bit nervous or tense about. That's also something you have to embrace or be glad for, that those feelings are back. That's a little bit what sport is about. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. And did you find that was there much chatter or talk between the players? Was there more interaction between the players about the systems happening or what they've been doing? Or did you find the atmosphere any different because of the time that everyone's had away and the fact that maybe quite a lot of people couldn't actually attend and play the tournament because of the restrictions?
I think, for sure, everyone had a little bit in common that it's been a crazy time and still is a crazy time around the world. And it's quite easy to talk to people and ask them how it's been in their countries, how have they been able to practice, how did they see this time. So I think this is something that all of the players find quite interesting. And also because as an athlete and when our badminton life closes down, this is kind of what we live for or work for or practice for. So it's for sure that it's a big part of our lives just closing down and you feel a little bit alone perhaps. So that's why also it was extra nice to be back. Yeah.
And just a funny question I'm going to ask, did they have any regulations about like sanitizing hands and things like that before the matches, or did they have any strict rules that were in place?
Not really with the sanitizing of hands, no, but they took the temperature of you on your forehead every time you went into the hall, and they checked you in and out. So they always knew how many people were there and who were there and who was not there. So there were for sure a lot of restrictions, but once you were in the hall, it was fine.
And you were talking about the green zone being just for players. Were there any expectations, like, say, for example, you had played your match, were you expected to just leave the stadium, or once you're in the stadium, you're in the green zone, you can just be in the green zone for a long period of time?
Yeah, I think so. No one said that it's a time period of how long you can be in the hall and so on. So that was not something I heard about. I think it was quite important for our team manager to attend the team manager's meeting and to get all the information because it was a little bit tricky. It's a big arena as well. Knowing where to go, if you wanted to see the physio, get some treatment, where can I walk, where can I not walk? It was a bit tricky, but I wouldn't say it was a big problem, no.
Yeah, okay. And then amongst the players, were you encouraged to keep your 1.5 meters or physical distancing as well? Or did they kind of just let you do your own thing as players?
I mean, I think all the players, I've had the feeling that all the players felt quite safe. We took the test before arriving to the hotel, then you had to quarantine to wait for the test results. Took the temperature on the forehead before going into the hall. So I think that once you were in the hall, everyone felt safe and no one seemed to be afraid of getting sick or anything. You also had to wear this, what is it called?
Face mask?
Mask, yeah. The mask over your face if you were not warming up or practicing.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I think when I was watching some of the matches, I didn't see many like masks on the players at all. Maybe I wasn't paying much attention to it. So yeah, it was interesting to hear that you actually did need to wear a mask when you weren't on court.
I think also the coaches even needed to wear the mask when they went into the court, but once they were coaching, they didn't need to have it.
Okay. Yeah.
So they were quite strict on this with the mask, actually. Yeah.
I guess the other rules that I observed were, of course, no shaking hands. It's just out of habit that you go up and try to shake their hand, right? Did you forget?
I mean, it was a little bit weird for sure. Also, when you said hello, you were standing quite close to each other. And when you tossed the coin and so on, but it was just like, hi and smiling a bit. And everyone kind of knew that it was a bit weird, but it was fine. Also, when you had to change the shuttles, you have to go and
I was going to say,
throw them yourself in the bin and then take them yourself on the side of the court, which was also a bit special. I think the first time I did it, I didn't really know where to go, and then I could see where it was.
Yeah, it's just a really massively, like a massive tube, wasn't it? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Was there a rule as to where you had to take the shuttle from? Because I noticed some players taking it from the black tube and some people were taking it from the actual tube on the ground next to it. Did they say where you had to take it from?
I don't know if it was different from court to court, but when I played on the TV court, they had this like gray long tube kind of up in the air. So the shuttle was in the air and then there was only one shuttle you could take out.
I think I saw the Danes or the English and the tube was still there, but they still took the shuttle from the tube. I'm not sure why.
Okay. Maybe it was a misunderstanding from the Danes. I'm not sure.
Okay. Yeah.
Then maybe they broke some rules.
Maybe they broke some rules,
Maybe they thought the shuttle would go faster because they have to pull it out and it squashes it.
Maybe. I have no idea. I think we were supposed to take from the gray tube in the air, but...
All right. And then, so overall, the experience was very good, right? So there was positivity in the air. It was a good environment to be around. Just for everyone listening, they might be concerned that maybe everyone's a bit scared or the environment's not very nice or something like that. But did you feel any of the negativity or was it all very good?
I think mainly everything was good. I mean, some people maybe had to wait a little bit longer to get the test results from the corona test. But I mean, we knew that we had to wait up to, was it 24 hours? Some people maybe got it after 6 hours. And then you feel like, I also want to get it after 6 hours. So if you had to wait 10 or 12, you got a bit disappointed. But I think in general, everything was fine. I didn't at all feel unsafe at any time. I think that everyone felt safe. And I didn't see any problem with this bubble system. I mean, everyone got tested. We got into the hall and you were wearing the mask, then you left. I think they were good at keeping track of who was there and who was not there by checking you in and out all the time. So I didn't feel unsafe at any time, no.
Yeah, great. It seems like they've managed to work around the challenges of COVID pretty well for this tournament. I suppose they've had a lot of time to plan as well. So yeah, Felix, in terms of your actual performance at the tournament, how did you feel about your performance being the first tournament back?
I could for sure feel that I have less experience on this kind of tournament than, for example, Jan has. I think it was also a bit special match. I could feel also on Jan that he was, maybe he hasn't practiced so much. It was special for him. It was a little bit special atmosphere. People maybe in the hall were thinking maybe this will be the last match ever internationally for Jan. We didn't really know what shape he was in. And it was also new for me playing the TV court, playing my first PVF Tour 750 tournament. Mm-hmm. But I think I did a pretty good first set. I managed to hang in there and make it hard for him. And I got some chances, but he was just a little bit sharper than me in the end of the set. And then in the second set, I just really wanted to keep that level. And mentally, I got a little bit insecure. Once I got a little bit insecure, he also started to get more secure on the court and get back a bit to his feeling, I think. And then it kind of slipped away from me. And then I lost a little bit bigger in the second set.
Was there much of a draft at all? Any wind that you experienced there?
Were a bit of wind, but I wouldn't say it was much. I didn't think it was so much. Some players thought it was more, but me personally, I didn't find it so hard to cope with.
We also know that a lot of professional players, once they've played their matches, and if they have sort of had an early round exit or something like that, they might be moving straight on to the next tournament or traveling thereafter fairly shortly. Did you stick around to watch some of the matches as well?
I really wanted to, but we were actually not allowed since we were only allowed to be in this green zone. So the audience was in red zone, I think, and we were not allowed to. So if we didn't practice in the hall or warm up before the games or we're going to play the games, then we were not allowed to be in the hall.
Ah, so you couldn't watch?
So I couldn't watch the matches. Also, I was playing on Wednesday, so the tournament started on Tuesday, for example. But I was not allowed to go into the hall and watch if I didn't have a practice time scheduled. So I just left the day after my match, yeah.
And did you watch any on the TV or on YouTube at all then?
I watched a bit on YouTube, yeah. There wasn't so much to do on the hotel room when you were not practicing. So I did watch a bit on YouTube. Yeah, I did.
Okay, great. And did you note any really top performances? Of course, we can talk about Jens' last tournament and when he played against Anders, and that was his last match. Do you have any comment or did you have any feelings? I could feel when he was getting ready for match point, I could feel like there was a bit of emotion happening. I know that Jens been around for a long time, and I remember first training with him back in 2006. So I just went to the World Junior Championships and then we went to Denmark for some training and he was there and I trained with him for a while. And it was quite emotional just to see him and what it meant to him. Did you see that part at all?
I saw it afterwards, yeah. I don't know Jan personally. I've played him now in Denmark and also once in the league. I've obviously watched him a lot since I was young. He's been around for a long time. But I think it was a nice way he went into the tournament. I could hear him speak to people or whatever around the hall when we were warming up. Also in the interviews that he didn't really know how he's going to react. But he felt he had peace with himself knowing that this was his last tournament. So I think for sure it was also a bit emotional for us to see him, such a big player, leaving this stage and what it meant to him. Like I said, it shows a bit how much sports can mean to you and how much time you put into it. And it's just a witness of a chapter of one's life closing down and a new one begins. Mm-hmm. So I think for sure, if I was in the same situation as him, it would be a very emotional time, yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like he handed the baton to Anders in that game. So, yeah, it's nice to see, at least one more time before he was sent off, essentially. So in terms of the matches that you saw, Felix, are there any sort of standout matches or sort of watch-out players that you thought have performed really well?
No, not really. I mean, I think the biggest upset of the tournament was maybe that the young Danish guys, Joel and Rasmus Kjær, beat Anders and Kim from Denmark. I think for sure that was surprising. But other than that, not really from what I saw, no.
What about the Germans in the mixed doubles? I was a bit surprised with that.
Yeah, that was a little bit of surprising. But I also think that they're a really good pair. I mean, they've showed this level a long time. I think they've been top 11 or 12 maybe at their highest. And now they're 17 or something. So I think that they have showed and they have the experience at this level that maybe they could do something like this. It was still a very, very good performance from them. But I wasn't extremely surprised.
Okay, so moving on from the Denmark Open, what's planned for you? So you were saying previously that you've been in Denmark playing some league matches before the Denmark Open. So what's the plan for you now?
The plan for me now is I'm currently in Germany, played a team match this Sunday, and then I'm here practicing. I'm going to practice in Mulheim at their center, national center, and then I'm going to the Shuttle Open next week. And then I have 2 other team matches in Germany, and then I go back home. And then I basically just have some team matches, I guess, before the new year. So this is the last international tournament in Salolux I'm counting on playing, which I also think is very nice that Salolux seems to be, that it's going to be held, because it would have been a bit sad, I think, if I only played the Denmark Open, getting back a bit, and now it's nice to play another tournament again quite shortly after, so you can feel this rhythm and get a few matches and tournaments. And then I guess we just have to go back to practice and see how it goes in the beginning of the new year.
So it really sounds like the Denmark Open has been really beneficial for you in where you are, right? So you've been through this heavy or long training block, and then now at least you've had something to break it up. You've got a few tournaments, some league matches to look forward to, and for you to practice performing. Because I guess a lot of people out there might not understand or might not realize the importance of actually competing, because you can train all day, but then competing is a different thing altogether, isn't it? So if you had any last messages for everyone out there, say on the professional circuit, and who weren't able to leave their countries to play or chose not to leave their countries to play because of maybe safety reasons or quarantine reasons, etc., do you have a message to them just to bring them back, or how good it is, and any words of support for them?
I mean, obviously, I would like to see badminton being back to normal. And if I would get the chance to travel to a good tournament in in Asia, for example, depending on how the rules would be for quarantine and stuff, I think I would also want to do that to get those chances to play the tournaments. I mean, it's like you're saying, we can practice 24/7, but we have to perform when we have to perform. And it also gives you a great receipt of what we've been doing. What do you need to do better? And I think you need to do that because you can do something very well, work on something mentally or work on something on court, and then you play the matches in the practice, and then it works very well. But then you go to the tournament, you meet someone new, you play a player you're not used to play, and you get a little bit nervous, for example, and then it's a totally new situation that you need to cope with. And can you then actually bring those things you've been practicing into those moments? That's what counts. So I think that for a professional level, and if you want to perform well, you need to get those receipts. And it has been a long period without any tournaments. So I think for sure it would be beneficial if it's possible for people to compete as much as possible now.
Yeah, so definitely take those opportunities while you can, especially with the looming threat of COVID still. We don't know if and when it'll continue to wreak havoc on society and then stop our badminton from happening again. But we're here at the Badminton Podcast. We are super excited that badminton is back.
Yes.
In some shape or form, and glad that you were able to experience it, Felix. And thank you for sharing for our podcast listeners and for Jeff and myself. All right, so Felix, thank you so much for your time today on coming onto the podcast. We really enjoyed talking about your experience back on the badminton court because we've been missing out on it for so long. And it's great to just see some professional badminton again on the big screen, even though we can't be there in person. So yeah, thank you for sharing with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks.
So from Jeff and I at the Badminton Podcast, thanks guys for tuning in to our Badminton is Back episode. We've had a lot of fun with Felix as our guest here, just talking about how awesome it is to see professional badminton again. We're really, really excited that we're going to have Felix on another episode in the future as well. So make sure you tune into that. But in the meantime, spread the word, tell everyone how awesome our sport is. Well, I don't need to repeat it, but I'm just going to repeat it anyway. Please, please do that because the podcast is an avenue for us to share our love of the sport. So everyone, get out there, train hard and play hard if you can, when you can. And if you do want to connect with us, then you can connect with us via social media on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and our website, volantwear.com. With our social media handle, it's Volantwear, VOLANTWEAR, as well as our Badminton Podcast one, which is at the Badminton Podcast. So make sure you tune into the next episode. And in the meantime, feel free to reach out to us, ask any questions, request any topics for future episodes. We're here to serve you. So thanks so much, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Thank you. We're so excited badminton's back. We'll see you on the next episode.
Yeah. Thank you. See you.
Bye.
This podcast was brought to you by Volant Wear, the most versatile badminton apparel you'll ever own.